Good evening again, and welcome to the January 2024 meeting of Lake Bluff.
January 8th.
January 8th,
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah.
A meeting of the Lake Bluff Village Board of Trustees. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Cole.
Here.
Trustee Fisher.
Here.
Trustee Freed.
Here.
Trustee Rappin.
Here.
Trustee Ryder.
Here.
Please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is item 3, the consideration of the minutes of December 11th, 2023 regular village board meeting. Is there a motion to approve the village board minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes to these minutes? Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
It's a voice vote.
It's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. Next is our non-agenda items and visitors. The village president and the board of trustees will entertain requests from anyone present. No. The village president and board of trustees allocates 15 minutes during this item for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the village board of trustees on any matter not listed on the agenda. Each person addressing the village board of trustees is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Please state your name and your address. Thank you.
Hi, Bonnie Shaw. I live on Scranton, in a very congested kind of sort of area of Scranton. My comment is about prohibition on gas-powered leaf blowers. It's the best thing ever. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment in the room? I do not see any. Do we have any comment online?
If you're participating online through Zoom, please raise your hand. You can be recognized at this time to comment on items not on the agenda this evening. And no one appears to be doing so.
Thank you so much. And this time, moving forward on the order of a meeting, the village president and the board of trustees will entertain requests from anyone present on the order of business to be conducted during the village board meeting. Should we address?
You can take items 15, 16, and 17.
17, yes. Without objections. Moving on to item 15. Moving on to item 15. Item 15 is an ordinance designating the building located at 331 East Witchwood Lane as a Lake Bluff historic landmark. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
Thank you. On October 23rd, 2023, the village received an application to designate the building located at 331 East Witchwood Lane as a historic landmark. The application was submitted by the property owners, Andrew and Kerry Biankowski. According to the application, the single-family residence, a Tudor revival style, was originally constructed in 1929 by noted architect L.G. Alberg, who designed commercial, industrial, and residential buildings in the Chicago area. This home was constructed for Frank A. Ross, an executive with the Stewart Warner Company for manufacturing auto parts. The home at 331 East Witchwood Lane contains characteristic features of Tudor revival style architecture, including half timbering with polychrome brick infill, massive brick chimney in the front, and multi-light casement windows. This building was one of 24 previously identified by the HPC as representing the highest priorities for preservation in the village by Resolution 221-HPC-01. At its December 13, 2023 regular meeting, the HPC conducted a public hearing and unanimously recommended that the village board designate the commercial building as a landmark for the reasons set forth in the attached draft ordinance. If approved, this would be the village's 26th active landmark and 33rd in total. And I leave a few houses down from Witchwood and Carrie and Andrew Biankowski, and I love that house. So thank you very much. Any comments on the board?
Mr. President, Chair Berkman from the HPC here to give a brief presentation for the board
Thank you.
regarding this
Paul?
potential landmark.
Yes, potential landmark, yes. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to speak this evening. I am Paul Bergman. I live on Woodland. This house is on Witchwood. I am the head of the HPC, and we're very pleased to bring this house forward as a landmark. Lake Bluff is full of houses that are excellent architecture, and this is a house that is sort of hiding in plain sight. If you'll flip to the next slide, please, Drew. Oftentimes, you want to talk about a house being a textbook example of Tudor examples. I took this page out of the McAllister Guide to American Houses. I'm not going to grind you through everything on this page, but there are probably 10 different points on this page that we find in this beautiful house in Lake Bluff. And so having all of these different items is just a magnificent part of what we find in Lake Bluff. From the street side, you see this view of this bay window over the garage. It has these beautiful Gothic casement windows in this beautiful little dormer that faces out onto the street. This is just an example of excellent Tudor architecture. This is the front door of the house. This is where the real fireworks begin. I want you to look at the what's called plaster strapping. It's the plaster panel that is on the front porch of the house. You see all of the beautiful rosettes and swags that are embedded into the plaster work. This is an example of very, very high fine craftsmanship. Over the top of the porch, you'll see, back up a little bit. Sorry. That's fine.
Michigan flag distracting me.
Me too. Is that historic as well?
We'll find out tonight.
Right.
So the crux, the curved beams that you see are a architectural salute to the original form of building houses back in the Dark Ages when they would stand trees up against each other. That's the form of that curved bend. So that's a salute that is taking the Tudor style back further in time. And I want you to notice the diagonal brick lagging that's on top of those curved beams. That's another example of extraordinarily good Tudor architecture. Now you can go to the next one. I am only going to tell you that this house has an extraordinarily expensive and extraordinarily exquisite slate roof on it. I can talk about this slate roof for about 5 minutes. I'm not going to take you into nerdy land, but believe me, this is a roof of spectacular standards. Next slide, please. Now we get to the back of the house. This faces into the ravine. There's all sorts of components of this house that are just textbook parts of Tudor architectural style. Go to the next slide. You see these beautiful gables that stick out over the edge of the face of the house. Here again, you see the curved the curved beam pieces and the diagonal brickwork. All of the beams that you see are affixed to the house in an ancient style called mortise and tenon work. These are all cut in place with a hammer and chisel and pounded together with a wood tenon pin. The wood pins that you see at the bottoms of those beams is the pin that holds all of this together. Another example of this is the ribbon casement windows that you see. And here you can see a really good view of this slate roof that I'm so nutsy about. The red slate that you see in the roof comes from only one quarry in Pennsylvania in the United States. The blue slate comes from New York. The green slate comes from another quarry in New York. This roof was all of the slates for this roof were hand-selected. Next slide. And so this is the end of the presentation. Here's another one of these beautiful panels that's embedded in the side of the house, and you can see the lovely brickwork and the lovely beamwork that's involved in the house. This is an extraordinary house, and I'm so pleased to bring this forward as part of a recommendation for landmarking in Lake Bluff. We have houses like this hiding in plain sight in front of us. And I'll take any questions that you have.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Questions?
None. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much. That was fun.
You got a little lesson.
My understanding, the owners will be here at the next meeting, presuming it is landmarked, to receive their actual plaque.
I think it's neat that it's Ross Biankowski, so that's an incentive for the current owner to get your name memorialized, right?
Huh.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I believe this is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Awesome. The motion carries. Thank you so much, Paul. And to Andrew and Carrie, congratulations on this first vote.
Thank you.
Next item would be item 16, an ordinance designating the building located at 125 East Center Avenue as a Lake Bluff historic landmark. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance?
So moved. Seconded.
Thank you. On November 6, 2023, the village received an application to designate the James B. and Mary Marilla Hobbs House, located at 125 East Center Avenue, as a historic landmark. This application was submitted by the property owners, James and Krista Hagill. According to the application, this Queen Anne-style building was originally constructed in 1896 for James B. and Mary Marilla Hobbs. James and his wife Mary significantly contributed to the development of the village and the state of Illinois through real estate development and their funding and support of the Lake Bluff Camp Meeting Association, the Camp Meeting Campgrounds, and the Methodist Deaconess Orphanage. In 1882, James B. Hobbs became president of the LBCMA and served until the association disbanded in the 1890s. James' successful business ventures led him to membership and the presidency of the Chicago Board of Trade. The couple's influence regarding issues of temperance and prohibition was felt statewide, propelling James to run for governor of the state of Illinois and Mary to the vice presidency of the Women's Christian Temperance Union. 125 East Center Avenue exemplifies the Queen Anne style through its irregular footprint, asymmetrical facade, large wrap-around front porch with a balustrade and spindle work that holds a simple front entry, a complex roof line with multiple gables and a jerking head, two tall brick chimneys, and fish scale siding on the front facade. While the porch has been replaced, the current porch is the same in size and scale to the porch shown on a historic house from the 1920s, with similar balustrade and spindle work. At its December 13, 2023 regular meeting, the HPC conducted a public hearing and unanimously recommended that the village board designate the commercial building as a landmark for the reasons set forth in the attached draft ordinances. If approved, that would be the village's 27th active landmark and 34th in total. Could you please state your name and your address?
I'm Susan Benjamin,
Good evening, I'm Jean Sylvester.
and we prepared the landmark nomination.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to point out that the memorandum says that the building was constructed in 1896. Could you go back, please, to the first? So we found a newspaper article from the Chicago Tribune that suggests that the building was actually built in 1889, which is a little bit earlier than what is listed here. We found that, next slide, please, that the building is historically significant as well as architecturally significant, and its associations with James Hobbs and his wife, Mary Marilla Hobbs, was very profound in the village when the village was first being formed, and statewide and really possibly nationwide. James Hobbs was very, very successful in Chicago. They maintained a residence in Chicago, and then they also developed real estate and maintained this building in Lake Bluff. He was a trustee at Northwestern and provided the funding to build the Dearborn Observatory in 1890, which is still extant and in use by the university. Next slide, please. And his wife was equally as important, we believe, and significant. She was very involved in the Grace Methodist Episcopal Church in Chicago, formed the Deaconess Association, and she was extremely active and very, very prominent in the nationwide temperance movement, not just in Illinois or in Chicago. She also was a very big supporter of women and children, and one of the more interesting things that she did was she was chairman of the committee which established police matron work for women inmates in prison. Prior to their work, women inmates were under the supervision, I guess, of males, and this was a big change and a very good change for those women. She founded the Old People's Home in Chicago and numerous other charities and educational institutions. Next slide, please. But in Lake Bluff, which is obviously more significant here, the two founded the Lake Bluff Camp Meeting Association with some others. James served as president. They donated buildings to build the orphanage, and really what they did was they had significant real estate holdings personally as well as through the Camp Meeting Association, which they ultimately donated to the village of Lake Bluff, expanding the village property quite significantly. Next slide, please.
Jean pointed out how significant both of them were in terms of the history of the village and the contributions that they made locally and beyond. But the house also has architectural significance as an example of the Queen Anne style, which is described in McAllister and several other books as having an irregular footprint, having a picturesque vista to the street, and incorporating a great many different details, from fish scale shingles to wraparound porches to various things that make the building significantly architecturally interesting. And you see it on the inside, although I know that isn't under your purview, but it's reflected on the interior as well. Because of its architecture and because of its history in relation to the Hobbs, we feel real strongly that this would make a great Lake Bluff landmark. And of course, we'd be happy to answer any questions. Staircase, casings on the doors and windows, stained glass, a lot of really beautiful elements.
Very nice, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have questions on the board?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you also. And so that would be ordinance, that would be a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item is item 17, a resolution registering the Village of Lake Bluff support of the Bird City, Illinois initiative. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you. In early 2023, residents Susan Moss and Hal Imenstein asked the village to consider doing more to protect and conserve bird populations and their habitats here in Lake Bluff. With that nudge, Village President Regis Charlot declared May 13, 2023 as World Migratory Bird Day in the village of Lake Bluff. These same residents also requested the village consider becoming a Bird City of Illinois. For your information, the mission of Bird City, Illinois is to encourage all communities in Illinois to implement sound bird conservation practices by offering public recognition to those that succeed in enhancing the environment for birds and educating the public about the relationship between birds and people and how that contributes to a healthy community. At the April 2023 SEC meeting, the president of the Lake County Audubon Society, Glenn Moss, gave a presentation on the Bird City application process and the value of such a designation. Current bird cities in Illinois include the villages of Libertyville, Grays Lake, and Freeport, and the cities of Waukegan and Rockford. At the direction of the SEC, staff put together an application that was reviewed by the SEC at its November 2023 meeting. One of the final steps before submitting an application is to pass a resolution that registers the village supports of a Bird City Illinois initiative. If a village is designated a bird city, the resolution must be voted on and passed every 3 years, and a public event must be held annually to celebrate World Migratory Bird Day. Expenses associated with the program would include a $200 application fee as well as a $100 triennial fee. Questions on the board? I would like to point out that we lost about 90% of our insects and we lost about half of our birds. And so this initiative is important to us. It is our environment and it is best for migratory birds as they transit here or they live here. And so the same, we're a tree city. I think that does enhance our standing as a people. So thank you. Questions? It is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Susan, I'll thank you.
Thank you.
Next, resuming our agenda would be item 6. Item 6A as our warrant reports for December 12, 2023 to January 8th, 2024, and November 2023 payroll expenditures. Is there a motion to approve the warrants report?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. As a summary of background and reason for request, we have expenditure of village funds for payment of invoices in the amount of $979,807.46 for December 12 to January 8th, 2024, and expenditure of village funds for payment of payroll in the amount of $450,112.63 for November 2023, for total expenditures of $1,429,920.09. You will find reports and payroll reports. Any question on the board?
I had one question that I tried to, and then forgot to follow up with you, Drew. So it's not actually, and I just did a quick Google. I think I have my own answer, but I'll ask it anyways. On the warrant report, I was curious what the Abalogic outdoor cameras were. And it seems to me that they're probably security cameras, but I might be wrong.
Yeah.
Chief? Hi.
So Avalogic is one of the service providers and equipment providers for the outside cameras at the different locations around the village.
Awesome. Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any more questions on the board? I see none, and this is a roll call. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Freed.
Aye.
Trustee Rappin.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Trustee Cole.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is item 6A, our November 2023 finance report. Could I ask Mrs. O'Connell to lead us through this report, please?
Good evening. As a summary for the November financial report, noteworthy items were the monthly sales tax revenue on a cash basis for November fiscal year '24 of $377,718, which were $58,828, or 18.4% greater than the fiscal year '23 cash basis receipts for the same period. General fund fiscal year '24 total revenues of $9,277,433 are $112,945 less than the fiscal year '23 to-date revenues. If one-time ARPA revenue funds of $378,451 were excluded from the revenue comparison, total revenues would reflect an increase of about $265,506, or 2.9%. FY24 current expenditures are consistent with or less than budgeted for the total general fund, and the fiscal year-to-date expenditures of $6,518,533 are $297,846 less than the expenditures for the same period in FY23.
Thank you. And I did forget to ask for a motion to approve the finance report.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions to Bettina? And I see no questions. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Bettina, thank you very much. Next is our village administrator's report.
I have no report.
Thank you. Thank you. And followed by our village attorney's report.
No report tonight.
Thank you. My report follows, and I would like to point out we have had multiple interactions with the library as witnessed tonight, and you see the result of this conversation as we came together tonight, and that would be my report. Next is are there any questions? I should ask. Thank you. Next is our consent agenda. And the consent agenda would be item 10, the acceptance of a correspondence. Please note that all correspondence was delivered to the Village Board of Trustees in the informational report on December 8, 15, 22nd, and 29, 2023. Item 11, a second reading of an ordinance amending the second year of a biennial budget of the Village of Lake Bluff for a fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2023, and ending April 30, 2024. Item 12, a resolution appointing Bettina O'Connell as the village's delegate to the Intergovernmental Risk Management Agency. Item 14, a resolution approving an amendment to the police chief's employment agreement. And item 14, a resolution approving an amendment to the village administrator's employment agreement. There's item 13 and item 14. I believe I said it wrong for item 13. Is there a request to remove any of these items from the consent agenda?
If I may make one or two clarifications, just to be sure everybody knows that in the second reading of the budget amendment ordinance, we did add in the $180,000 police pension fund transfer that was talked about at the prior reading to have additional monies, so that's included in that as we talked about, as you guys directed. And the second item under the resolution approving the 10th amendment to the village administrator's employment agreement, it incorrectly states in the initial paragraph of the resolution, it identifies Matthew Smazinski versus Robert Drew Irvin, and chief of police should be village administrator, so there's just a typo there. Just want to point that out. That's it.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Is there any discussion on these items? Hearing none. This is a roll call. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye.
Trustee Freed.
Aye.
Trustee Rappin. Aye. Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Trustee Cole.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving forward with item 18, A resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement with the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150 for Public Employee Division. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. The collective bargaining agreement with the village's public work employees expired on April 30, 2023. Over the past few months, the village negotiating team, Public Works Superintendent Jack Terlap, Finance Director Bettina O'Connell, Assistant to the Village Administrator Clara Gable, and Village Administrators Drew Irvin with guidance from Labor Attorney Jill O'Brien, negotiated a new collective bargaining agreement with the Lake Bluff Public Works maintenance workers who are represented by the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150, Public Employee Division. The village's negotiating team goal with the maintenance workers unit included: 1, ensuring the arborist and water operator roles were desirable assignments. 2, gaining the ability to accelerate movements within the maintenance worker position classifications. And 3, maintaining our position in the market with respects to wages and share of health insurance costs. Noteworthy terms of a proposed agreement include: 1, a 3-year term. The term of the agreement is May 1st, 2023 to April 30, 2026. 2, a 3% wage increases. Increases in the wage schedule of 3%, 3%, and 3% are included in the draft CBA. 3, a health insurance stabilization. Local 150 advises that next year's health insurance premium increase for the village is 1.8%, well under the 10% cap included in the proposed CBA. Beginning May 1st, 2025, any health insurance premium increase over 7% will trigger a reopening of a contract to negotiate the financial impacts. These terms have been achieved in comparable communities. And 4, a work boot allowance increase. Boot allowance to increase annually by $25, now $150 per year, during the duration of the contract. On December 11, 2023, the village received notice from Mrs. Diana Di Stasio, sorry about that.
That's fine.
Field attorney for International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150, that the union ratified the attached agreement.
And if there are any questions, Village's Labor Council, Jill O'Brien, is participating via Zoom, so.
Any comment on the board?
No.
I see no comment on the board. It is a roll call vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fried.
Aye.
Trustee Rappin.
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Trustee Cole.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye.
So next item would be item 19. How do we?
You have to waive.
So this deals with the rules that were discussed in the committee of the whole. Peter and I, between the meetings, worked together to put changes into the ordinance, and we can go over that quickly with you all, but it's the same ordinance, but it does now reflect a flat $10,000 penalty plus cost. And
Those costs include impoundment costs, and impoundment is specifically authorized.
And so that was one of the changes discussed, and I think that's really it.
7 to 5 days.
Sorry, yes.
Right.
Change. 7 to 5 days notice. Yep.
What about the use of the
I think where our understanding was, should that we be in a position where we collect fines or penalties, we would bring it back to the board, say, we've done that, how do you want to handle those funds? And at that time, that can be dealt with at that moment. And the other issue that Mr. White, who was here earlier, brought up, the idea about designating that, specifically noting that in section, I believe it's, let me get to it.
It's page 4.
For G, I believe.
No, it's
No, I
3,
think it's-
coordination of disembarking
Yep,
passengers.
yep,
Where is it?
Page 4, number 3.
He had suggested that This says the intercity bus must be met by individuals to coordinate transportation of the passengers from the stop located in the village to their final destination. He suggested that say to their final destination outside the village. We did not include that change.
Okay.
And mainly because this could apply to
Any charter
situations,
bus.
any
Correct.
charter bus.
Right.
It's one way, so.
We're not
we
just
can't
talking
assume.
about
Correct.
this circumstance, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that precision, Peter. Are there any more thoughts about?
I believe he made one other suggestion with regarding to adding a time limitation. Did we decide not to do that?
Correct. You want to talk to about
Similar reason.
It's in
The
the
idea-
reason, just
right.
wanted to make sure. Okay.
Yep, yep.
Okay. Any comments on the board reflecting the current state of this ordinance? I know this is very short. Going from discussion to a document is very short. And so,
We had a good discussion in the COW meeting.
yep,
Agreed.
I thought it was good. Are we all feeling comfortable with the state of this document?
I do.
Yes.
Okay,
We're going to vote, right?
I think we are. And that would be, is it a roll call or a voice vote?
Do we have to wait?
First reading is voice vote.
Voice vote. Okay. Are there any comments in the room about this ordinance? Do we have any comments online about this ordinance?
Anyone attending the meeting via the Zoom meeting that wants to address the board on this ordinance amending Titles 4 and 6, the Lake Bluff Municipal Code regarding unscheduled bus stops, now's a great time to raise your hand and be recognized. No one is raising their hand, sir.
Thank you. And you said it was roll call.
Voice vote on first reading.
Voice vote, you're right, I'm sorry. It is a voice vote. And all in favor?
Need a motion?
Do we have a
We need
motion?
Could I please have a motion on this item?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry. It is a voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. Thank you very much. Next item.
No, is there a question? Somebody want to waive second reading? So the board has the option to waive
right.
second reading if they wanted to make this effective immediately.
So is there a motion to?
I'll make a motion to waive second reading.
Second.
Thank you. And that will be a roll call.
Any public comment?
And again, thank you. And again, if there are public comments, please come forward. And do we have anybody online again?
No, sir. Nobody online raising their hand.
It is a roll call. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Ryder,
Aye.
Trustee Cole,
Aye.
Trustee Fisher,
Aye.
Trustee Freed,
Aye.
Trustee Rappin.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next would be our trustees' report. Do any trustee wish to make a report, to do a report tonight?
No.
And I see nobody coming forward. We have next our consideration of December 11th, 2023 executive session meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Are there any changes to these minutes? I see none. Thank you, clerk. Please call the roll.
Trustee Cole,
Aye.
Trustee Fisher,
Aye.
Trustee Freed,
Aye.
Trustee Rappin,
Aye.
Trustee Ryder.
Aye.
Thank you. And I do understand we do not have an executive session tonight. And so could I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
Thank you so much. Thank you to anyone in attendance for tonight, and have a great evening. Thank you so much.